Have you ever felt like someone was watching you from behind your bedroom window, even though you're home alone? I used to think it was just my imagination too, until one night, just past 2 in the morning, I heard knocking from under my bed. And when I peeked, there was this tall, skinny figure with arms way too long, just standing in the corner of my room, staring at me. And ever since that night, my life has never been the same. My name is Danny. I go to college out of town, but a week ago, I went back home to my parents' house in the village for a long break. Our house is pretty old, sitting at the edge of the village, right next to a small forest behind it. When I was a kid, I used to play near the edge of that forest, but now the vibe feels different. I don't know why, but the forest now feels quieter, darker. Even in the middle of the day, it can feel creepy walking past there alone. That night, I slept in my old room. It still looked the same as before, wooden walls, an old wardrobe in the corner, and a big window facing straight to the forest out back. The window didn't have any bars, just a thin beige curtain. When I was little, I used to peek out that window, watching birds or little monkeys jumping through the trees. But that night, I didn't even want to touch the curtain. I couldn't sleep. It was past 1, and my eyes were still wide open. Probably because I got used to sleeping late in the dorm. So I just sat on the bed, leaning against the wall, scrolling through TikTok on my phone. A few funny videos made me chuckle, but after a while, my feed started showing horror content. Somehow, TikTok's algorithm knows when you're alone in a dimly lit room. The sound of crickets outside was so loud that night. Every time I paused a video and listened, it felt like the only sound in the world. No motorcycles, no footsteps. Not even the fan could drown out that natural hum. But I brushed it off. That's just the village vibe, not the city with honking cars. I kept scrolling until my phone suddenly lagged for a second. The screen froze on this video of a girl saying she just had a paranormal encounter at her grandma's house. The video was super dark. Only her scared, panting voice could be heard. I tried to swipe down to skip it, but right before I could, creak, I froze. There was a weird sound, like long nails scratching against wooden walls. Not a quick scratch, but slow, stretched out, intentional. The sound was crystal clear, like it was coming from outside the house. But I knew the wall outside my room faced the forest. No way someone would be out there at this hour. I turned off my phone screen. I didn't dare move. The sound was still going. Creak, a bit louder this time. It sounded more like claws dragging across glass, rough and harsh. Slowly, I turned to face the window. The curtain was still shut, but because my room was only lit by a small bulb, I could make out the shadow beyond, dark, but with a faint movement, like something slowly passed behind the curtain. My hands and feet turned cold. My heart was racing, not from running, but from fear. I stood up slowly, walked toward the window, trying not to make a sound. As I got close, the scratching stopped. I stopped too, held my breath, tried to listen closely. Silence. Just crickets again. But now even the crickets seemed to go quiet. I stood right in front of the window. The curtain was thin, and I could see the shadows of trees outside, but nothing else. I raised my hand, trying to pull the curtain slightly. Thump. Something slammed into the window from outside. Hard. I jumped back 2 steps and nearly fell. It was loud, like someone threw their whole body against the glass. But the glass didn't break, just shook for a second. My hands were trembling as I pulled the curtain slightly open, just enough to peek. Empty. No one there. The backyard was dark. The trees stood still. Cold air rushed in through the gap at the bottom of the window. But on the glass, there were scratch marks. Long ones. 5 parallel lines. like claw marks, about 30 centimeters long. They looked fresh, wet, like the creature had just made them. And below them, right on the fogged-up lower part of the window, there was a handprint. Not a normal one, long, thin, like a human hand, but the fingers were too narrow. The nails were long, curved. 3 out of the 5 fingers had touched the glass, as if the creature had leaned its hand there. While peeking inside my room, I quickly closed the curtain again, tight. My body was shaking. My phone was still on the bed, and I didn't even have the strength to walk over and grab it. But I forced myself, picked it up, turned on the flashlight. I pointed it toward the window from across the room, but from inside, I couldn't see much. I thought about waking my parents, but their room was in the front of the house, and they were probably fast asleep. Besides, I didn't even know how to explain what just happened. "Mom," there was a long hand at my window. It sounded insane. So I just sat on my bed, still holding my phone with the flashlight on, facing the window. A few minutes passed. I heard the crickets slowly starting up again, but my body still couldn't relax. I felt like something was still watching, still standing out there, waiting, watching. I knew I needed to sleep, but my eyes refused to close. I ended up just sitting there, back against the wall, phone in hand, lights still on. I forced myself to listen to music with my headphones to calm down, but with every passing second, I couldn't stop thinking about that scratching sound and the thud against the window. I don't know what that thing was. I don't know why I was standing outside my room, but one thing I do know, it wasn't finished, and the night had only just begun. The next morning, I told my mom about the weird stuff that happened last night, about the scratching sounds on the glass, the shadow behind the curtain, and the handprint that clearly didn't belong to anyone I knew. But she just laughed softly while sweeping the yard. "Ah, you've probably been watching too many horror videos," she said. "Just go to sleep earlier. Don't stay up too late or you'll start hallucinating." I just nodded silently. It felt pointless to explain in more detail. My mom's the type who doesn't believe in anything supernatural. Same with my dad, especially since they moved to this village 5 years ago and never experienced anything weird. So yeah, I just nodded and went back to my room. But my head was still full of questions. I even started wondering, what if I really was hallucinating? But that handprint was real. Those claw marks were still clearly visible on the window. That night, I tried to sleep earlier. Still couldn't. The clock showed 1:30 a.m., and I was still tossing and turning in bed. The fan buzzed softly, and the dim yellow light from the bulb flickered as usual. I left my phone on the table, trying not to reach for it to scroll TikTok again. But that just made me think even more. My eyes finally started getting heavy around 1:45. I dozed off for a bit, but it was just light sleep, not really restful. And at exactly 2:05 a.m., I woke up, not from a loud noise, but from a soft one. Talk, talk, talk. I thought it was a mouse or something, but the rhythm was too steady, like someone was knocking gently from below. Talk, talk. Silence. Then, talk, talk. I immediately sat up in bed, silent. My ears were on high alert. The crickets outside had suddenly gone quiet. Complete silence. And that knocking sound, it was clearly coming from right beneath my feet. From under the bed. My heart started pounding fast. I held my breath. Didn't dare move. But curiosity was stronger than fear. I slowly reached for my phone, turned on the flashlight, and bent down carefully. My hand was shaking. I aimed the light under the bed. Nothing. There was nothing there. Just a pair of sandals and a thick layer of dust in the corner. But that made it even creepier, because I definitely heard something. And just as I was about to sit back up, I felt a cold breeze pass by the back of my neck. Fast, like something had crawled quickly out from under the bed and slipped behind me. I instinctively turned my head, and my breath caught in my throat. In the corner of the room, near the old wooden wardrobe where I used to keep books, I saw a shadow. Tall, thin, black. Its form was hazy, like smoke, but it had a distinct shape. Narrow shoulders, with arms that were far too long, dragging on the floor. Its fingers were long and sharp, like dead tree branches. The figure was hunched over. It didn't have a face, just a hollow gap where a face should be. But inside that hollow, there was a dim light, like it had eyes, but not human eyes, more like two small floating flames. Its eyes were staring straight at me. I tried to scream, but no sound came out. My mouth was open, but my throat felt blocked. My breath was being sucked out of me. My body wouldn't move. I could only sit there, eyes wide open, watching this thing stand still, and slowly begin walking toward me. The sound of its claws scraping against the wooden floor made every hair on my body stand up. Sec, sec, sec. Its steps were heavy but slow, like it was savoring the moment. I tried to move, but my legs were frozen. My hands were trembling badly. I still had my phone in hand, but the flashlight beam was shaking like crazy. And just as it reached the middle of the room, my bedroom light went out. Total darkness. Even the flashlight dimmed out. I panicked, pressing my phone screen, but it froze. Everything was dark. Everything was silent. But I knew it was still there. My breath became shorter. It felt like something heavy was pressing down on me. But I could hear heavy breathing from directly in front of me. Not human breathing. More like some huge animal sniffing me. Then I felt my bed shifting slightly. Something was climbing onto it from the foot of the bed. Slowly, heavily. Each movement made the mattress sink bit by bit. I didn't dare open my eyes, but I could feel that weight getting closer. And when it reached my stomach, I felt something touch my chest. Its hand, cold, thin, and rough. Its fingers touched gently, then moved upward toward my neck. I wanted to scream as loud as I could, but still no sound came out. My body trembled. I was sure if it touched my neck even a little more, I was going to die. But suddenly, from outside my room, there was a loud knock on the front door. Duck, duck, duck. The creature stopped. Its movement froze. The heavy breathing suddenly disappeared. Then slowly, the weight on my body vanished, like it had climbed back off the bed and left. I still couldn't move, too scared to open my eyes. But second by second passed, and I realized my room light was back on. My phone was working. The sound of crickets returned outside. I slowly opened my eyes. The room was empty, but I was still breathing hard. I immediately got up, ran to my parents' room, and knocked on their door. My mom opened it, half asleep. "What's wrong, Dick?" I didn't answer. I just walked in and sat on the floor, shaking. "What happened?" Dad asked. I could only say one thing. Something came into my room, Dad, but it wasn't human. And that night, I didn't go back to my room until morning. The next day, I searched for info on the internet. My fingers were shaking as I typed. Tall, skinny creature, long hands, shows up at night. At first, the results were all over the place. But one name kept popping up on Reddit horror threads, forums, even YouTube. It was the Rake. The moment I read the description, I felt goosebumps crawl up my spine. Everything matched. The creature was tall, thin, with pale white skin, deep-set eyes, and long arms with claws sharp like an animal. Some witnesses said the Rake often showed up around 2 or 3 in the morning, just standing still in the corner of the room, sometimes crawling slowly from under the bed. Sometimes it just stared, but there were also more terrifying accounts. People plagued with nightmares, whispers in the ear, and eventually, unexplained deaths. There was one line in a blog post that really got to me. If you've seen the Rake once, he will come back. Maybe tonight, or the nights after. That day, I couldn't focus on anything. I had no appetite. I was too scared to even leave my room. It felt like I was being watched. From morning until sunset, I sat in my room with the windows tightly shut, the curtains drawn, and every gap stuffed with clothes or bags so no light could seep in. Every tiny sound startled me. Even the neighbor's chicken made my heart jump. I blasted music through my headset, even though I usually like silence. But this time, I preferred noise over that eerie quiet. As night approached, I started to panic. The sun dipped low, and the lights outside slowly flicked on. I checked every lock, every window, even the bathroom. I didn't want to leave a single gap open. I even brought a wooden broom into my room, though deep down I knew it wouldn't help much if that thing really came back. By 9, I was already in bed, not asleep, but to keep watch. I sat with my back against the wall, lights on, fan spinning, phone fully charged. I even downloaded a bunch of funny videos just to distract myself. But no matter how hard I tried to stay calm, the fear sat heavy on my chest. My heart raced for no reason at all. Past 1 in the morning, my eyes started to droop, but I fought it, forced myself to stay awake, focused on my phone screen. But the closer it got at 2 a.m., the colder it felt. Seriously, not just AC cold, a different kind of cold, one that seeped into your skin, made your hands and feet tremble. My breath started fogging, and this is Indonesia. It shouldn't be this cold. 2:15 a.m. I checked the wall clock. The seconds were ticking, slowly, too slowly, as if time itself knew what was coming. 2:17 a.m. Right as the clock hands formed a near straight line, the room light shut off. No click, no flicker, just darkness. The phone in my hand froze. The screen was on, but nothing moved. The buttons didn't work, even the power button. The display was stuck on one thing. 2:17 a.m. Panic crept in, but my body froze. I couldn't move. My breathing grew heavy. It felt just like last time, only colder, darker, quieter. From the window, I saw something. 2 eyes, small, pale white, glowing faintly like embers. They were high up, far above the ground. My window was high too. No normal person could reach that height, unless they were standing on something, or clinging to the wall. My eyes widened. My hands gripped the bedsheet tight. I couldn't scream, couldn't call for anyone. I just stared at those eyes, staring back from behind the thin curtain. And slowly came the sound of long nails scraping glass. Again, scree, scree, scree. Soft, but deep. The kind of sound that pierced your ears not because it was loud, but because it simply wasn't right. I didn't know how it got in, but suddenly, I felt my bed start to shake gently. There was movement behind me, like something crawling from the top of the bed frame, slithering down under the pillow, toward my back. I didn't dare look, but I could feel it. Something was definitely moving behind me, and it was big. My breath caught. My skin turned ice cold, like a draft of frozen air swept across my back. But this wasn't wind. It was the same creature. I shut my eyes, tried to mutter anything I could remember. Verses, prayers, even kid song lyrics. But the harder I tried, the colder it got. And then, something touched my neck. Cold, long, rough. The fingers felt too many. Not 5, but 8 or 10. And it started tracing my neck, slowly, while making a strange sound. Breathing. H-H-H-H-H-H. H-H-H-H. H-H-H-H. Right next to my ear, I could feel the breath. It reeked, like rotting flesh buried too long. Its fingers tightened, and I knew if I didn't do something now, I wasn't going to make it. With a burst of strength from God knows where, I threw my phone toward the door. It hit the floor with a loud thud. The creature froze, didn't move. Silence. Then it vanished, like a shadow being sucked into the air. The bed stopped shaking. The air grew warm again, and the lights came back on by themselves. I sat on the bed, panting. Tears rolled down my face, my hands still trembling. But the creature was gone. Or maybe it was just hiding again. I didn't know, but I knew one thing. Tonight, it didn't win. But tomorrow night, maybe it'll try again. Because, as the internet said, if you've seen a Rake once, he will come again, and again, until he takes you away, forever.